welcome to Clockwork Dandy Noodles. A happy new year to you guys. I hope you are having a good one, and I hope that this is going to be a good year of anime for us. There is a lot coming our way, and I am excited to break it down with you guys. Welcome to episode 1 of Requiem of the Rose King. This is going to be one hell of a Shakespearean rabbit hole that we throw ourselves into, come out the other side very confused, but we're going to go through it together because this one's going to be difficult. We're going to break it down. We're going to try and keep it as simple as possible. Hard thing is, there's 2 Richards already in episode 1. Duke of York, which is Richard's dad, and then Richard is Richard. We're going to go into it, guys. Hello and welcome to Clockwork Dandy Noodles. If you are new, thank you for joining the channel. I noticed during my break that we got more subscribers than if I was active. Maybe I should take more breaks. We'll find out. We are now 2 subscribers away from 500. Thank you guys so much. We are halfway at my goal. We still need to get another 500. The journey is not yet over and we're going to still battle against it. If you are new here as well, make sure you guys are subscribed. If you have an interest in this anime or any of the other animes that I may have covered, make sure you are subscribed because you'll get a notification whenever videos go up. There is also a Discord channel too for you to get notified whenever something drops. We don't really use it to chat, but it is a great way of monitoring when things actually come out, which can be quite difficult when a season is in full swing. Before we get going, let's get some of the interesting stuff out the way. Just some background work. Yes, I am from the UK. I'm going to give you some watered down history. I was going to say this is a spoiler, but it's not really a spoiler because it happened 400 years ago. For the period of time, if you are interested, that we are dealing with, which is the War of the Roses, that technical period is 1455 to 1487. See, it covers a fair many decades, so the story is not going to be a short one. As well, it's even more confusing because we're multiplying different Shakespearean works into one, then we're loosely basing it off that and history. It's going to be interesting to see what comes up at the end of it. In essence, we are dealing with 15th century, if that is of interest to you guys. Welcome to England. The initial open is cleverly giving us some of the backstory, the setting for the story, as we follow Richard, the Shadow Richard, running through it as we get some of the information given to us. It does feel a little bit exposition-y at times, but in an anime like this, based on the work that it or based upon, it being wordy is the least I'd expect. Shakespeare's works get heavy at times. I mean, the man created many different kind of words. He alone influenced the culture that is the English language of that period, now to where it is now. We are studying Hamlet, Richard III, and Henry VI, based loosely on. It'll be very interesting to see how much it pulls from each of these plays, how much it is drawing from history itself. Spoiler alert, that at the end, both the houses end up uniting by marriage. You nowadays will see the rose, which has got the white edges, the red in the middle, and it's got the thorns. They unite. Going to be very interesting to see if they somehow work that into the story, because the heads of the houses right now, we've got Henry VI, who has theoretically in dream vision status seen Richard. Material that this is based upon is actually a lot prettier than the anime. The anime uses a lot of static frames. I think it works. We're telling a story, and a lot of it is quite storybook-ish in the way it looks. If you are to look up some of the artwork, you will notice it is very detailed, very gorgeous, almost reminiscent of a very dark Black Butler. With the use of the static frames, initially the exposition crows give us a bit of backstory on Richard's turbulent arrival at birth, and as they state and give us information that his mother did experience a lot of trouble at birth. Also bearing in mind that England at this period is very highly superstitious. When you start seeing people acting the way that they do in the story, add in the grain of salt that everybody at this period of time believed in things like witches, folklore, prophecies. This is all stuff that people believed in. People would jump at shadows during this period of time. Some information from the history now. Richard III himself, when he was born, he was very, very frail. He had a hump, or he was deformed. Remains have been discovered under a car park. If you're interested, you can search that. Richard may not have had teeth at birth because of how frail and how deformed he actually was. And interesting the fact that he was indeed the 11th child of 12. That's something you'll get a lot with history as well, is that the families were bigger, gave birth to more children because the mortality rate, the survival rate, was very poor. A lot of children would die in childbirth. We are introduced to Richard's mother in this. The anime is doing things quite nicely. It's giving you all the information that you need. Obviously, if you want to dig deeper, please do. It's a very fascinating time of history. Led to believe that there is a prophecy that would shun Richard by the time that he ever amounts to anything. People are going to look at him and wonder why Richard was ever born. Idea of being alone, being unwanted, that is starting to amass towards Richard as a character. It's very interesting storytelling. I like it. It is very different from any of the animes that are airing this season, but I do wonder how many people are going to take one look at this anime and go, it's way too heavy for me, too convoluted. I'm going to give it a skip. It's going to make your head hurt. It's a good thing I'm not actually binge watching this anime, I think. We're going to now hit a time skip. We've seen the birth. We've seen what Richard's younger life was like. He does rescue a boar. It does show that Richard has the capability of caring, being kind, but we're going to see some very interesting stuff. Richard in this anime has no gender, so I'm going to have to keep trying to be gender neutral. If I do accidentally slip in a pronoun or two, it's not done intentionally. It's just I occasionally will forget. Because there's two Richards as well, I'm going to have to try and hammer home that there's no pronouns whatsoever when it comes to the main Richard. Duke Richard is father, Daddy Richard, and then you've got Richard. Daddy Richard comes home and tells us that Henry VI has actually begged for a truce. He's brokering for peace and the people. Initially, he does settle for protector. He believes that it's probably best for the people. We don't want to continue a war. I do like the stained glass visual that we get, because stained glass was a thing at this period of time. It would have been used in churches as well, just to tell a story. A lot of the population at this period of time was illiterate, so they would see the pictures and the pictures would tell them the story. So I like this lean on. I like this use of a visual here. Start to glimpse a different side of Richard, and perhaps it's seen a bit more forceful and sly because we are looking at it through the eyes of his mother, who doesn't like Richard. Richard seems to push his father to fight against this peace idea. They tell Richard to go and fight against it. You will be king. You deserve to be king. The crown belongs on your head. Taking a very non-peaceful stance and showing us the more forceful nature that Richard is possessing. Spurring their father back into fighting, because the father does go back out and fight. Obviously, Richard carrying Richard's name, his namesake. Richard does like his son, and we see during today's installment, that he is fighting for his son Richard. Let's talk about John the Ark. John the Ark, I always pronounce wrong, but that is how we're going to pronounce it for now. Interesting that we're taking the English folklore stance that John the Ark was a witch. John the Ark is used to taunt Richard. It's very difficult to know if Richard's actually seeing this or it's just a vision, because it seems to be more the inner corners of the mind of Richard. Whether Richard's more delusional and Joan d'Arc's just a figment of the imagination, or a representation of the demons within Richard's thoughts, because John taunts Richard with the idea of him being unwanted. Also tells us, the audience, the secret that Richard is hiding, that Richard actually hasn't got a gender. Ends up being groped by Edward a bit later on, and that's how Edward figures out the secret as well. But because of this secret hanging over Richard's head during this period of time as well, maybe perhaps seeing John d'Arc as a manifestation of the worries, secret that hangs over them. It's the best way for now to stop my mind exploding, to explain the things that are going on, because John d'Arc wouldn't have been there. Also during the sequence, see Richard's heterochromia. I like this because heterochromia looks cool, but it also shows us two different sides of Richard. We had the purple. Purple is a sign of being sly, a bit calculating, smart, magical as well, a bit more feminine as well. It's a feminine colour. Then you've got this kind of yellowy golden eye, we'll call it gold, perhaps the more innocent side of Richard. I'm gonna like this idea of seeing two versions of Richard. We've seen the more sly version, but we saw the rescuing of the boar earlier, which shows you a kinder side as well. Depending on who you speak to, if they are not a Richard fan, they will say that he had a horrific hunchback. Hunch is played up even more. Now, with some clever use of colour blocks, seeing the war playing out, Duke Richard, Daddy Richard, is making some progress on the war. We do notice during this that Edward's men, branch of House Lannister's armies, actually breaks through, and this is where we initially see Richard, the mother, the brother, all of them. They are captured by Edward and his men. They are thrown into jail for a bit. They would have obviously been political prisoners. During this time, obviously, stress is really high, and this is a very bad place for the house to be. We do then see that hatred, the hatred from Cecil herself, towards her son, Richard. She sees them as a demon to her when she saw Richard spurring his father on, telling him to go to war. With how things have now ending bad, and the prospect of losing her son and losing her husband, that is fired back, and we hear the term demon child over and over again. During the sequence when Richard seemingly falls asleep, that is when we get one of our more interesting visions, and I'm going to call it a vision for now because the two aren't physically in the same place at the same time, so they are not meeting in person. However, it seems like they are able to have a conversation that they both seemingly remember, because at the end Henry says, "I wish to see you again." It seems that maybe they connected on the same path in this vision. Richard following the white boar. The white boar is a colour of innocence. The white boar leads him to the shepherd in the forest, which is actually Henry VI. The shepherd has quite an interesting statement, an interesting speech to tell Richard, all about the passage of life, the idea of minutes marking somebody's life. The shepherd would be happier than a king, perhaps telling you as well that maybe Henry VI doesn't actually enjoy being a king. Although at the end he does state that he's no longer a king, he is now a shepherd. Game of shepherds and kings. A shepherd is happier than a king is because the shepherd has less worries than a king. He just sits back, he raises young life into the world, which is the message about lambs and ewes, which is quite nice. He goes on to state that death is actually okay if his life is used to save somebody else's. And this is going to show you the differences between him and Richard, because Richard then calls into question the idea of the value of life and equality, the fact that surely a king's passing is sadder than a shepherd's passing, regardless of the fact that technically its death is still sad, regardless of who it is. Of course, that does raise into question, does a shepherd's life mean so little? But it does show us that Richard's standpoint, they do look down on the shepherds. We do see that inner fear that Richard fears death, because a demon child simply won't get to meet God. And we don't get that idea again that Richard is very unloved. They are a cursed child. The vision breaks down again with John d'Arc coming in to swap in and once again taunting Richard, preventing peace. It does seem that the two are at peace when they're together, because we have Richard laying on the arm of Henry, and it's quite a peaceful scene with the two together. But when John d'Arc comes along, it prevents this peace, but almost prevents the two being together and uniting. So John d'Arc showing up as a negative force, a force that is tearing the two apart. And that brings us back to the prison. Another face-off with Edward. Edward this time taunting Richard. The tables flip, I think, at this point. The prison in which they are being held at is under siege by Daddy Richard's army. Sounds so weird saying that. Because, as well, for information as well, Richard can be read as Dick, and I'm saying Daddy Richard. Yeah, I'll let you guys put that together there. Edward ends up working out the secret by accidentally fondling and getting a bit too close to Richard. But for the end of this scenario, this installment of the story, we're going to have House York actually winning, and we see Henry VI being demoted, being captured by this point, and no longer being a king. And we have Daddy Richard is on the throne almost. He hasn't been crowned just yet. During this period of time as well, we see Richard's love for the sword and how much Richard prefers the sword. In a situation where, should things have been normal, Richard could have gotten close to a girl who also shares the love of the sword, wants to be close. That divide, again, is drawn upon us because of the secret that Richard holds. Cannot get close to anybody because of the secret. Goes and takes it out, and we see him attacking almost a cross-like symbol, which could be showing you the idea of Richard's idea of religion. A lot of interesting symbology going on as well. Richard initially proposes to kill Henry, whilst it has to be somebody else who says, no, Richard could still be of use. Seeing the more violent side of Richard during the sparring match with the cross, and have another talk between our two Richards. Richard's swordplay is almost as good as his oldest brother, that he promises he will not retreat from any more of the fights. We see the fact that Dad does love his son. He loves him a lot. He's gone to war for him, and he's kept his words in mind as he has been fighting, and now he is in the position that he is in. We do end on the sad notion that Richard plans to kill Henry. Despite the fact that we've had a vision with the two together, and Henry seems to actually longingly want to see Richard, I don't think Richard has physically seen Henry. That connection hasn't been made just yet. It's just to him more than just a vision. So that is the episode. It is confusing and it will probably take a few more go-throughs just to make sure I've got the story as it is. I really hope that that wasn't too confusing. I tried to water that one down, throw in a bit of history knowledge here and there. It's going to be an interesting one. This is definitely going to be an anime which is not for everyone, but it's going to be my history anime of the season. I'm looking forward to seeing how this story is retold, because I have read the initial scripts which Shakespeare wrote. I've seen modern retakes on the story. It's going to be interesting to see how an anime portrays those plays. It's very heavy material and also takes history into account. Very, very interesting stuff. I hope you guys are doing okay. I'm now going to go away and watch the new episode of Attack on Titan, the final season. I'm very excited. It's a very fun season. I can't wait. I just can't wait for this year in general. It is going to be such a good year of anime. I can't wait to bring you guys new stories, new animes, and even returning animes as well. We have got Shadow's House coming out in July now, guys. I have a date. It's July. I am definitely breaking that one down on the channel. I missed out and regret not doing season 1. I'm going to be doing season 2. Have a good day, guys. Make sure that if you are rescuing boars, that you do show kindness to the animals around you. And maybe they'll come back and give you a vision of happiness. Who knows? Have a good day, guys. Bye-bye.